Hello, friends. How are you? Usually, when I decide to send a message, it's about, work or my love of teaching. And today, it's a little different. And so my energy is a little different. I, when I began taking yoga, I would go into, went to several studios. Just three. But each time that I went in, I was not really impressed because I left feeling like, what am I doing? I didn't have that instructor that was so fired up that would take the time to explain the different poses and, how to go into them, to modify them for me. And so I left feeling like it was a waste of time. And because I don't really like to be defeated, that's just my personality, I began to study at home. And so I joined a gym recently. I had an injury, which I have not really spoken about, but I had an injury, and now my knee is kind of bothering me. And so I need an outlet, something to kind of help me work out my ankle, work out my knee, just to work out in a different format, a different way, which, cross train, you need to do that anyway. So it was great. And so last week, it was on the schedule, and I'm excited about it. I've seen the yoga class, and I'm thinking, I'm going to, I'm going to take this yoga class. So I went in, and I'm excited. I'm around, I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to be around other yoga students, and I just needed to be a student. I just needed to be able to sit on my mat and to enjoy my practice without instructing, without leading. Just have someone to lead me for a change. And so I did that. I got on my mat, and I'm prepared. I'm in my zone. I'm meditating. You see me closing my eyes. I can feel it now. And so in walks the instructor, and she does her greeting, and she looks at me, and she walks over to me, and she says to me, "Hi, I haven't met you before." And I went, "No." And she said, "My name is such and such." I'll just leave it that way. And I said, well, hello. I said, "My name is Nikki." And she just said, "Well, I see you have your mat, so that tells me that you've done yoga before." And I smiled, and I said, "Yeah, I have." And then she said, "Well, this is a flow. I don't know if you saw that on the schedule." And I said, "Yes, I did see it." She said, "And this is a flow 1, 2, and it's not like this particular style. We don't stop. We just continue on and on." And I just said, "Okay," again with a smile. And then she just said, she just wanted to impress to me what it was not like. It wasn't like this style, and it was very tough. Also, that she felt that I may need a strap or a block, just a little assistance. Okay. So with a smile on my face and knowledge that of who I am, my practice, where I have come, I took those items from her, and I sat on my mat, and she came back again to me in front of the whole class, and it's about maybe 30 people in the class, and she just was very adamant about what the class was. Now, I made the assumption, because she kept expressing what type of class it was and what style it was, that she made an assumption that maybe I couldn't handle it. But I still smiled. She said, "Oh, are you trying the gym out?" I said, "Well, actually, I joined this week." And then she said, "Well, have you taken any other classes, by any other instructors here?" And I said, "Nope, you're my first." Again, with a smile on my face. And we began practice. And it was great. She's a very thorough instructor. Her leadership is awesome. She has very good knowledge, or I would say outstanding, great knowledge about alignment, how to walk you into your poses, giving modifications, all of those good things, everything anyone would want in an instructor. And halfway through the class, we did a pose that and I was this one pose that I've been working on for a while, and I finally got into that pose, and I was just in my brain, I was just like, oh my God, I'm here. And I heard her say, oh wow, Nikki, and I just kind of toned it out, and I didn't really look at her, but in my brain I was thinking, never assume that because of a person's whatever, just don't assume. You don't know what a person is capable of doing. You can't look at their body. You can't look at anything that's on the outside, including color, age, and make assumptions. And that's what she did. That's just the bottom line. And she, to be honest with you, as an instructor, you want to ask certain questions, but you don't want to kind of humiliate and embarrass a student. And that is actually what I felt. But, oh, what you didn't know about me in my mind. And so I continued on. I finished practice. And again, my review of her is the same. She's a great instructor. And so when class was finished, another fellow student came over to me and he just said, well, hey, Monday, if you want to come back on Monday, get here early because the class is, it just fills up on Monday. And I'm thinking to myself, even though I didn't like how she approached me, I have learned never to cut your nose off to spite your face. Never miss out on an opportunity to grow because someone has said something or has rubbed you in the wrong way. I learned that from my mother, my dad too. And so I'm like, oh, well, thank you. And I was kind of thankful of this man that didn't know me. I didn't know him. And so, again, I was looking forward to Monday. Hadn't practiced in a while. And so, it's Monday. I come early. I work out my ankle. I get on the bicycle. I'm just kind of doing my thing, just, working it out, warming it up. Come back, get on my mat, and practice begins. Same instructor. Why would I miss out on her teaching? Because I can continue to learn from this lady. 10 minutes into the class, she says, well, I don't teach Ashtanga yoga. This is not Ashtanga yoga. We work on alignment here. And I have went through a year training on alignment, and I know this and I know that. And as soon as she said that, I started to chuckle because I immediately felt that dig. And I was kind of shocked, like, wow, she really, she's really saying that. Now, okay, I can make an assumption that she knows. I didn't tell her that I was first of all, I didn't say anything about me being an instructor because I'm not there in that capacity. I didn't even tell her that I practice Ashtanga. But if you are someone who practices, or if you are a teacher that has been teaching for any length of time, you can tell by a student's the way that they move, what style of yoga, unless unless you're new, or unless you've never observed that particular style before. I can tell, students that come in class have practiced Ashtanga. I can tell those who've practiced Hatha and Bikram. You guys move too, in such a beautiful, unique way. So I know that she knew that I practiced Ashtanga because there's a certain way that we move into poses that is different from the other styles. And so I chuckled and I thought, wow, she's really going there. And then we did a few more poses. And again, I don't teach. This is not Ashtanga yoga. I teach, how did she say it? Not regular yoga, but I teach traditional yoga. And we work on alignment, we work on this, we work on that. This is not Ashtanga yoga. They just, do anything and they do this and they do that. And I just thought to myself, why are you doing this? What are you getting out of this? If you are a traditional yoga instructor, then how can you give advice on a style that you say that you don't teach? What was your purpose? I continued class, I finished class, and I walked out with a smile on my face. And all day since then, I've been thinking about that. And it reminded me of why I became a yoga instructor. I have gone into classes where the instructor did not look like me. She doesn't have to. But her heart, or his heart, didn't, I will not say his. I've never run into a male instructor with that kind of attitude. It is what it is. But I just didn't run into a female instructor of a different race that was fired up about teaching me. I was kind of brushed aside, and I left with a feeling of, I wasn't wanted, wasn't needed. And that was this young lady's mission today. Well, I am the instructor that I am today because of people like her. And she actually gave me something that I needed today. I'm going to take her heart, and I'm going to make sure that my heart never turns that way toward anyone. I'm going to take something good, or get the honey out of this lesson that I learned today. And I will continue to go to her class. Why? Because just because she and I aren't playing on the same team here, doesn't mean that she doesn't have something that she can teach me. Because today she taught me patience. Today she reminded me of restraint. She also reminded me of who I am and whose I am. And she also reminded me that although there are different sides of yoga, different limbs of yoga, to make it plain, we all don't practice that. For some, it's just the physical side. So I say this to you, beautiful yoga friends, and just friends in general, that when you are going through, and we're all going through something, some kind of battle that we're going through, remember who you are. Remember your goal. And more importantly, you kill them. Kill them with your pride. Kill them with your inside. Kill them with their own plan. And let them see God's open hand. No time for revolution. Today is my solution. Skin pollution is the news that they still broadcasting. There's trouble out there, but it's so clear in here. I will not be moved. I will continue my mission. I will continue towards my goal, because He has given me something that no one can take away. So whatever you're going through, you're not alone. You're not alone. Just walk with your head high. Keep pressing forward. Shake it off and keep it moving. Thanks for listening.